Hello and welcome to the video. This is a first look at this brand new model from Rekon FPV. This beastie is the Rekon 7. 7-inch model, much bigger than some of the other ones that you've seen on the channel. Here it is compared to the Rekon 5, and you can just see how much bigger this thing is. Now, I have made my own 7-inch endurance long-range models in the past. And I was forced to do that because the hobby completely got carried away with the whole 5-inch racing thing, which is great. But it meant that lots of the development and thought was just going in to variations on that standard 5-inch racing frame layout. And I'm really pleased that Dave C, who kind of have combined with HGLRC to create the Rekon brand, is not doing everything conventionally. He's actually giving us lots of weird and wacky and quite wonderful models. Now, I've looked at all of them on the channel. I'll put links down below. The Rekon 3 is a little model that runs off a single 18650. Technically very clever, but in terms of flying experience, not great. There isn't a lot of power in there. The Rekon 4 is a fantastic kind of model, available in standard and freestyle versions. The Rekon 5, for those of you that watched my kit picks video a while ago, you'll know the Rekon 5 is just my favourite little everyday flyer. The Rekon 6 was nice, you needed the extra braces, and then you got this Rekon 7. This one that I got in to review, and luckily I've had it for a couple of weeks, so I can actually talk about what it's like to fly. Available in both analog and digital. I've got mine in analog. The digital one wasn't available when I ordered it, but I have got the vertical antenna at the front that can fold out the way for crossfire, and I've also got another crossfire antenna at the back. So I've got full crossfire diversity. Analog system on here will go up to 800 milliwatts. But in fact, I'll put this video out. The only thing I don't know at the moment is the price point, because I'm recording this before the release date. So, caveat. I'll put the link below so you can go and see what the eventual price point is. I don't expect it's going to be super cheap. There's an awful lot of engineering in this and quite a lot of carbon fiber to make sure that you can manage the vibration. This is a 6S setup. So ideally you're going to want a 6S battery. If you can get your hands on some 6S lithium ion, this thing is going to fly for a very long time. So standard stuff, let me show you how it comes in the box. Talk about the specs. Let me go through the Betaflight setup. The other really big deal about this 7-inch quad is, although it's come with Betaflight, and we'll test it in this video, I'll show you what it's like to fly in Betaflight, they have actually done what I've been asking them to do ever since the original Rekon stuff started coming out, which is there's actually a compass wired up on here. This is INAV ready. Now, to keep this video from going on forever, I'll probably do the maiden and we'll do the Betaflight stuff in this video. I'll do a separate video, we'll flash INAV on it and see what we need to do to get it all set up, and then we'll take it out and do some INAV flying, potentially show how the return to home works in INAV, because it's a proper return to home, it comes back to you, lands. But I think INAV is a better option for these longer range endurance models. So if you're flying for 25-30 minutes at a time and the battery on your goggles starts to misbehave, you can just flick the return to home. Or if you're lucky enough to live in a place where you can fly beyond visual range, then this would be a great model to do that on. And INAV is great because, again, you've got all those kind of cool GPS features that you don't get in Betaflight. So let me jump on the bench, let me show you how it comes, unpack it, go through the specs and run through all that stuff. So while I unbox this, let me go through the specs of this Rekon 7 Pro. Now, you can get it with analog or digital. The digital will come with the full DJI Air unit. The motors on this are 2806.5 1250 kV motors, and it has a large M80 Pro GPS on the back, and also a compass as well, so faster and better satellite locks, and also INAV capability too. Compatible with both the dual antenna crossfire diversity system, which is, I've just shown you, is what I've got here, and because that's CRSF set up out the box, it'll also work with Express LRS easily too. Arms are mounted with M4 hardware for security, And the wheelbase of this is 324 millimeters. The flight controller inside here is an F722 Zeus flight controller. We've seen on a couple of other things. The ESCs is a Zeus 48 amp 3 to 6S 4-in-1 ESC. It's an 800 milliwatts Zeus VTX at the back of this. Antenna is MMCX. At the front is a Cadix Rattle 2 FPV camera. And then again, the motors are the 2806.5 1250 kV motors running 7-inch props. 2 lots of props in the box, both the folding set and the ones that I'm using here. So you've either got HQ prop DP 7x4x3 7-inch 3-bladed propellers, or you've got the DAL prop folding 7-inch 3-bladed propellers in the kit as well. Recommended battery for this is anywhere between an 1800 to 4200 milliamp hour 6S pack. Weight of the model is shown here, and this is what it's going to weigh with the batteries. So let's quickly go through the beta flight setup. Dump and diff are going to be down below. Again, we'll have a go with INAV later on. Data flash has something in it. TIC-V good. These guys are very good at testing things before it leaves the factory. We can see the magnetometer isn't selected in beta flight, but the GPS is working and happy. This is how the ports are set. So GPS is on UART2, VTX IRC Tramp is on UART3. Configuration, standard motor direction, so be aware of that for fitting your props. 8K gyro and PID loop frequency, F7 base flight controller, so not even breaking a sweat. Receiver is set for CRSF for the crossfire stuff I have on here, but also that's going to work nicely with something like ELRS stuff, and all the beeper stuff is turned on too, which is going to help you find it. Power and battery look like this and seem to work very well. Failsafe is set to GPS rescue, which is where it needs to be. PID tuning is set like this. Again, very gentle, relaxing, easy flying from this model. It's not set up to be a racer. It's just a really nice, stable, fun model to fly around in. Receiver, you might need to come in here and play with a couple of things, but I needed to change the stuff in the modes tab because that's all that's set by default. I needed a couple more things on mine just to make sure that it was all set how I wanted it to. Although we've got the GPS, I also want to have some stabilization modes for some of the gentler flying. On-screen display, I recommend coming in here and moving things around. It's actually not a bad layout in terms of all the things that you need on the screen. They're just where I wouldn't naturally have them. And all of the video transmitter stuff is set up straight out the box. And again, dump and diff, if you're interested, are linked in the description below. So before I get into the flying footage, let me very quickly do a little bit of video and just shut up for a second, and you can hear the kind of noise that comes off this when it is in the hover. It's not bad, is it?
No, it's lovely.
Get it back on the thing. You can. Right, let's FPV it then. So as you can hear, it isn't bad at all. For a model of this size, it is very, very quiet. And that's because we've got the nice big blades turning slowly than you would normally get on your 5 and 4-inch models. And that just makes an awful lot less noise. So let's go for a normal flight and we'll see how that all works. Now, out of my 2200 5S pack, which is actually what I'm flying on here, it flies great on 6S, but it also seems very, very happy on 5S2. I'm getting about 20 minutes out of that 2200 milliamp hour pack, but I'm setting my timer for about 15 minutes on the radio just to be safe. Hover point is only about a quarter throttle, with the all-up weight being about 850 grams. So there is lots of room on here. If you want to put your full-size GoPro rather than something that's been skeletonized, this will handle it without breaking into a sweat. And because of the much longer deck, we have an awful lot more choice on the size and layout of batteries. It's not like things like the Rekon4, where you're almost limited by the top deck on the size of battery that you can pop on. Flying is super smooth with loads and loads of power. The beta flight setup and the tune is excellent. Flying around even in a spirited fashion, bringing it down, you'll find that the motors are completely cool. Occasionally hovering right by the ground for a couple of minutes at a time can make the motors warm up just a smidgen, but in normal flying they're hardly above ambient temperature. So again, loads of cooling and everything is working really nicely. That rattle camera, which is pretty standard on the analog versions of the Rekon FPV stuff, is working beautifully. But I think for me, probably the digital HD system, the DJI system, would probably be the one to get for this, because it would just make it absolutely fantastic to go exploring and give you nice long flight times to just see what's about. Again, if you wanted to increase the flight time dramatically, then you're just going to have to put a slightly bigger battery on here. Again, 20 minutes out of a 2200 pack for something weighing 850 grams is nothing to be sniffed at. So in summary, I am a big fan of this. Again, caveat, I haven't seen the final price, but I would be willing to spend a reasonable amount of money for this model. For those of us that want to be able to do some of the stuff that some of the DJI equipment does with the bigger props, longer flight times, ability to carry heavy camera loads and things like that, but haven't had an option, this is it. This is kind of the modern version of the kind of TBS discovery and things that we used to have many moons ago, using modern components and modern building techniques. Fit and finish is excellent, as you'd expect from a Rekon model. Everything is beautifully put together and the arms are nice and thick, and that vibration isn't an issue at all, even though in the end I didn't balance the props on these bigger props here. Don't forget, you do get the folders in the box. I'm just flying it with these regular ones because carrying it around isn't an issue.
Perfect.
Beta flight setup is lovely. It is buttery smooth to fly, which is going to be perfect for filming and exploring and getting footage. Don't forget, INAV is supported on this, so there will be a follow-up video while I go through the INAV setup and we'll do some more testing. But I just love the fact that finally we have a model with a GPS on the back, where they've also gone to the trouble of thinking about mounting a compass. Now, mounting external compasses is incredibly tricky because you really need to get it as far away as you possibly can from all the interference on the model that could pull the heading out of alignment, so you get accurate readings. But it's great that these guys are trying, so hopefully the INAV setup goes perfectly. Mounting for the crossfire antennas is absolutely lovely. We have the big horizontal one at the back, and we have the vertical one at the side that is on the little rotating mount. That means that when you land, it gets pushed out the way. You probably noticed I've already lost the tip of this antenna from all the flying I've been doing. It is just a really fun model, and it's not as loud as you think it's going to be. I know a couple of my friends who've seen this have kind of expressed their opinion before they've seen it flying about how loud they expected it to be. But that's the kind of fun thing with this. When you have low kV motors with larger props, you get an awful lot of thrust without a lot of the noise. The noise tends to come from all of the additional props that tends to be added onto these smaller models and the high RPMs that you need to get the thrust. You don't have that issue if you're running something like a 7-inch prop. Lots of nice touches in here for this kind of Explorer class. Obviously, you've got the GPS and you've got the compass that we can set it up with INAV. There is a lost model beeper hidden away in here. It is a little bit tricky to get your fingertip onto the button to cancel it, but the fact that it's in there and it's mounted and they've put a bit of thought into that is great. It means that if it does come down in longer grass or flies into the top of a tree or something, you've got a chance of figuring out where it is and getting it back. CRSF setup with the pieces for crossfire, so you can use full telemetry. We will explore that when I do the lure setups. And the setup out of the box only needed a couple of things tweaking. I just changed the modes and the on-screen display layout, and that was it. It was ready. And don't forget, endurance is good too. I can get 20 minutes-ish out of a 2200 pack. I think you could probably get an awful lot more if you went for one of the bigger packs, particularly lithium ion. I might keep my eyes open and maybe invest in what's at the moment quite an expensive pack to get even longer flight times. But 20 minutes is easy, even though this thing is weighing about 850 grams. Only a handful of things to consider when you're getting one of these. It is a lot physically larger than a 5-inch model. Be aware of that. It is quite a bit chunkier as well. As I mentioned in the flying footage, there is a little bit more weight, so you kind of energy management and throttle response has to be a little bit more aggressive in order to arrest this in hard turns. But really, if that's the way you want to fly, there are probably other Rekon models that are slightly better. But this will still do flips and rolls, but you do have to kind of anticipate that additional mass that you've got to deal with. Crossfire receiver did need an update as part of the bind. I'm running reasonably recent, probably not the very latest version, but it did do an update as part of that, and it is powered from the flight controller via the USB, so that meant that I didn't have to have it all powered from the battery when I did that, which was good. It is tricky to get the fingertip onto that lost model alarm. Just be aware of that, and you're really going to want pretty chunky 6S batteries to get the most out of this thing. I have been waiting for a very long time for somebody to bring out 7-inch models of this class. Big props to Dave C and HGLRC for putting it together and making my wish come true. Love the fact we've also thought about INAV for this one, so it means that I am going to flash it with INAV, and hopefully, fingers crossed, that's all going to go super smooth. And I'm going to then also be able to have the ability to do autonomous flying and have a return to home that's going to land this thing safely as well in the event of a problem. This is perfect if you are bored of the 5-inch models and you are looking for that bigger, heavier, more powerful model with a longer flight time that's going to be good at something like carrying a camera, and particularly with this kind of crossfire setup and high power video transmitter, you're going to be able to get quite a lot of range. Again, if it's legal for you to turn the power up on the VTX. For general scooting around and filming, for me, I'm probably going to pull this out of the bag more often, the Rekon 5, but there are times when I want the really long flight times and I want that weight carrying capability for cameras and stuff. This is going to be the one that goes in the bag. Thank you for spending your time today watching that video. You can find me in all the usual places on social media, and if you're trying to learn about a subject, then check out the playlist. All of my videos are organized into easy to follow playlists that, if you're trying to learn a topic, will take you from the basics right the way through to some pretty advanced stuff.